Welcome to NFL World and NFL Starts and Ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And this week, it was announced by the Dolphins that Tua Tagovailoa would be placed on injured reserve for 4 games. Tua, depends on where you get your news, has said, I'm going to meet with independent neurologists over the next few weeks to see what this concussion did, to what the previous concussions did to my mental health, because he has a young wife and some kids. But he also has said he doesn't plan to retire. So he's just going to go talk to some independent neurologists to see what he should be doing. So when that happened, it was, okay, will he be placed on IR? Will he not be placed on IR? The decision was made yesterday that he would be. So Skylar Thompson is the quarterback. They also brought in Snoop Huntley from the Baltimore Ravens practice squad. He's also on the roster. We'll see how this goes. I mean, Huntley has more of the same build as Tua in terms of their styles. But there is a question of, is that enough with a potent offense? Let me see if I want to see if I can get all the games, or the next 4 games at least, for these Dolphins. Let me see what I can do. Okay. Let's get, as you can see, anyway. We just gotta wait till it loads up, but I'll continue talking about Tua here in this Dolphins team. This Dolphins team, I think, they had no energy after Tua went out with an injury. Obviously, I mean, you see it happen, and the Dolphins have seen it an absorbent amount of time. Okay, so the next game for the Dolphins is at Seattle. That is not an easy place to play, especially with a backup quarterback. That's not exactly the best and most fun place to play. Let's see. Okay. So it goes at Seahawks, home for Titans, at New England, and then at Indianapolis. That's a tough stretch if you are the Dolphins. That's a tough stretch. Because the Seahawks have looked pretty good. They're not fully clicking, but they're there. And the Titans, they're showing some life. There's still some problems, but there's some life. New England has shown that they're competent, that they're going to be no slouch. They're going to do some damage, at least maybe not wins, but sure, okay, yeah, we can still score on offense, and our defense is still really potent. And then you get a team like the Colts, who have struggled a little bit on their own. So, in reading this out, they play 4 games. If at the earliest the Tua could come back would be October 27th. That's not ideal if you are the Dolphins. But at the same time, you're like, do you want him back at that earliest convenience and say November 3rd when you gotta play Buffalo again? So just something to keep an eye on is we are on to a watch to see when he does come back. So that's important. The next set of news, it's really a reviewing of what we did on Monday. On Monday, I don't know if it's fully caught on, but Bryce Young was benched. They the Panthers decided we're benching him and we're going to put Andy Dalton in there. Now, a lot of people who've had Andy Dalton on their teams or have watched Andy Dalton play say he's a decent quarterback, but he's not a good quarterback. He's okay. He will get you through some good things, some bad things. But one of the things that a lot of players have said is we feel bad for Bryce Young because he's a young quarterback and he's gotten two different play callers the last 2 years. He's gotten two different head coaches the last 2 years. Helps with those guys. Actually, if I'm really being honest with you, three different play calls in the last 2 years, two different head coaches the last 2 years. That's hard. That's hard for a quarterback. And especially when the team isn't very good. You can see the frustration with the Panthers offense too. Adam Thielen was open on a route, and I don't know if Bryce Young didn't see him or whatever. And Adam Thielen's not a guy who wears his feelings on a sleeve, as they used to say. He's a guy who's very internal. He keeps all that to himself, and you can just see the amount of frustration he was having because of this last 2 years have been brutal. They've not been good. He's been the only weapon. Bryce Young is stuck there trying to make plays, but it's not happening. So, is this any way to fix this? Is there any way to fix it? And the answer is not at this time. Not at this time is the answer because there is nothing you can do. It's not just Bryce Young, it's everything. Everything is falling apart because you've had three different head coaches the last 3 years. You had Matt Rule, you got rid of him. You brought in Frank Reich, you got rid of him. You brought in Dave Canales. It hasn't worked. The offense looks bad. The defense looks bad. Everything looks bad. They scored 13 points while giving up, I think they've given up a total of 68 or 75 points. It was something crazy. It was like 68 or 75, maybe even 80 points in 2 weeks. That's how bad they've been. They can't do anything. That doesn't just start with the quarterback. Everybody. Everybody. You can't just expect one player to dominate one side of the ball and then hope the other side of the ball can like take that and say, okay, yeah, we can go and do our thing. It doesn't work that way. It you need to have a good offense and a good defense to be able to prosper in the sport. And the Panthers for the last couple of years have not had they haven't. I didn't like when Frank Reich was hired. I didn't think the team really needed it like that. And Dave Canales got hired. I was like, okay, it can't get much worse. Somehow it got worse. I don't know how it got worse, but it got worse. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And now you're putting Andy Dalton in there. Don't be surprised if we get a couple weeks from now and we're having the conversation, does Andy Dalton need to be benched too? It doesn't work. It's a faulty place that it's not even before we get off this topic, it's not even fact of it's been bad. The last two quarterbacks that you've had that you started, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, went to another place as a starter or as a backup, became the starter in Tampa and in Minnesota respectfully, and became dominant. Were dominant. You saw it. Baker went to Tampa. Dave Canales was there. They went to Tampa. He lighted it up. He was lighting it up. Started this year, lighting it up. Sam Darnold goes to Minnesota after going to San Francisco for a year. As a backup, went to Minnesota. Got his chance because McCarthy got hurt. Lighting it up. I swear to you, these quarterbacks aren't bad. It's what is going on in Carolina that is making them bad. All right, moving on. The Chiefs reunite with an old familiar friend. They have signed Kareem Hunt to a contract. And the reason this was done was because Isaiah Pacheco suffered a lower leg injury, actually a fracture in his fibula, and he's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Well, Steele, the undrafted player, was the only other running back they had on the team. So it was, what were you going to do? So they chose to bring back Kareem Hunt. Now everyone says, he's the best player available, and da 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 da. It's September. It's September. When you get to this point of year, and you say it again in October, you say it again in November, you say it again in December, you say it in January. When you get to this point of the year, there is not options, okay? There are parts that you can think that you can put together. It's kind of like this. You get a car, right? And you have this car and it's going, but it has a bad bumper. You need to fix this bumper. You were in an accident, you had a bumper. You take the bumper off, and you realize it's going to take a long time for me to fix this, and I got to put a new bumper on this car, or at least to put a bumper on this car. And you go and find this rusted bumper, but it still holds enough that you say, okay, put that on. That's what they did. They took a rusted bumper and put it on the car. So the whole car is new except this bumper. That's what they did. The Chiefs went and said, we need to replace this bumper for now, put it off to the side. We need a new bumper or something that can hold us together. They have this old rusted bumper, they put it on the car. Boom, let's go. That's what they did. And the reason I described Kareem Hunt as a rusted bumper is because he's not been that good the last few years. Last year, signed around the same time, went to Cleveland after the Nick Chubb injury. That was his opportunity he was waiting for. This year, went, signed the same time, goes into heading into week 3, signs with the Chiefs. That's not because he was the best running back available. It was because he was one of the only running backs available, and you have some ties to him. I also thought they would potentially bring in Jerick McKinnon because he was there last year. They chose not to. Okay. Moving on into before we talk about our weekly predictions. The Falcons shocked the world on Monday night by beating the Philadelphia Eagles, score 22-21. Look, I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm not in the business of telling anybody that, look, I told you this would happen. That's not me. That's not who I am. But in this case, I will be. I will be that person. I told you this would happen with Kellen Moore. And every Cowboys fan, every Chargers fan has told you this. When you're up in a game and you have Kellen Moore and you tell him, run the ball, run the clock out, it's a nope, not doing that. I'll run it twice, but I'm going to throw it at one point. And it was the right play. They almost scored on that play before they had to do the tush push to get it in because Saquon missed by half a yard. This one, it's thrown properly by Hurts. It doesn't get knocked down. It's just Saquon dropped it. Now, let me set the stage of how this happened. the Dolphins. I'm not the Dolphins. Excuse me. I'm looking at the Tua's picture right here. The Falcons have no timeouts left, and the Eagles just have to run the ball. Just run the ball. The only thing that can stop the clock is a turnover or an incompletion. It's the only thing that can stop this clock. So don't throw it. Don't throw it. And they ran it on first down. They ran it on second down. They threw it on third down. It was 3rd and 3. They threw it. The ball hits the ground. Incomplete. And it was inside the 10-yard line. But it's too far to do a QB sneak, so they kick the short field goal, give the ball back to the Falcons with like a minute. It was like a minute 40 or a minute 35 left in the game. Too much time. And I was actually watching the Manning cast, and they had Matt Ryan on there. Matt Ryan said something. They called it the triple trifecta, which is no negative plays, one explosive play, and one play to start. Basically, what he means by that is first play, you need a good started play, something that just gets you going. You need an explosive play, which is a deep ball of some sort over 15 yards. And then no negative plays. And what did the Falcons do? First play, good start play. Next play, a good explosive play. They get it going. And then they had no negative plays. There's no other way you could have done it. They went right down the field. They didn't have to spike the ball. They didn't lose it down. It was efficient. They were very efficient. And the thing that concerned me if I'm this Eagles team is not what Kellen Moore did. There was two things that concerned me. The amount of times they ran the RPO plays and not hand it to Saquon was an issue. Because I'm sure Saquon was like, dude, I can pick this up if you give me the ball. Stop pulling it and trying to throw this bubble screen or running it yourself. I can get it. And then the second one was this defense. On a touchdown before that the Falcons had, the Eagles blitzed everybody. It's known as cover zero. We blitz everybody except the people who are covering. Well, a speedy wide receiver on a safety, that's not a good matchup. He needs help. But you blitz everybody else, and you can't allow Cousins to get rid of the ball. You're blitzing 6 or 7, and they're only blocking 5. You should get in there. What happened? You didn't get in there fast enough, and you got rid of the ball. That was a problem. That's how they scored on that play, pretty much. That and some fancy moves from Darnell Mooney. But it was not just that. It was you allowed the Falcons to go down the field in the 2-minute drill to win the game. That was an issue. You can say all what you want about the interception that Hurts threw at the end of the game. The game was over. The game was over until something happened. And that was pretty much it. So I don't take too much stock in the interception, is what I'm saying. All right. Before we hit the predictions, we have one more thing we have to talk about. which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin said to the media that Justin Fields is preparing to start week 3. That's not saying he will start week 3. That is just saying he is preparing to start week 3. As Wilson is still coming back from the calf strain and all that stuff. It's a question of what will happen. I don't know. But I think Justin has looked good. That there's times he's looked really good when they've taken the reins off him and just let him go. And I would want to see him just go. Like, I would like this for them to not put the reins on him the whole game. And let's see what happens. Because I honestly think it'd be better. He did have a touchdown. It was a 5-yard touchdown, but that was it. I really want to see what he could do with all the reins taken off and just say, let's go make plays. That's what I would want. All right. So our score predictions. So our first game is the Patriots and the Jets. As we have Patriots, actually the Jets are favored. Excuse me, the Jets are favored by 6. This is going to be a strange game. Both teams are 1-1. The over-under is 38.5. And the reason I said that is because I don't even think they'll get to 38.5. Fully, anyway. This is a big test for Aaron Rodgers. This Patriots defense is actually pretty good. And Gerard Mayo has made him that good. But with saying that, I have the Jets winning this game. But it's going to be a lower scoring game than anyone predicted. It's going to be 24-17 Jets. Next up will be, let me make sure I get it here. Hold on a second. Come on, cooperate with me. I just want to make sure I have everything I need. See, most of the time I write this stuff down instead of just trying to go work it. Okay. So let's do this. And this thing don't want to cooperate. Okay, here we go. So after the Jets Patriots game on Thursday night, we have Ravens at Cowboys. Cowboys are getting +1 in this game because no one has faith in the Cowboys at this moment. Even though the Cowboys have the better record. The over-under is 48.5. And this game is really going to be, it's a desperate game for both teams. For the Ravens, it's a desperate game because they've been 0-2. This is the first time they're 0-2 since 2015, when Joe Flacco was quarterback. And they are desperate because they haven't played well. They haven't finished games well. They actually went up 7 points in the final 2 minutes. They are 0-10. That shouldn't happen. So they need to be better in those fronts. The Cowboys, I mean, their defense just didn't show up last week. And now they have a big task with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. With saying that, I still trust at least the Cowboys' offense to do something. Where the Ravens' offense, I haven't seen it yet. Not that I won't see it. Haven't seen it yet. So, trying to keep this thing going here. I have the Cowboys winning narrowly. Narrowly. It's going to be the battle of the kickers, I think, at the end. Brandon Aubrey wins this game for the Cowboys with the score of 27-24 Cowboys. But that's pretty much it. It's going to be one of those games you're going to, again, the third consecutive game on Fox that Tom Brady's going to call. So it's a little frustrating to have to listen to that 3 times in a row. But this game will be a classic, I think. If this thing wants to work, it'd be great. Okay. Then we have the Lions and Cardinals. Cardinals game +3. The Lions need a bounce back. They led. They had positive stats against the Buccaneers, and they just lost. The Cardinals looked good. I'm taking the Lions to win this game only because I think they bounce back. But if there is a concern about this Lions team, it is their secondary. So Marvin Harrison Jr. might have a field day again in the first half. We'll see what happens. But I'm taking the Lions to win. Score 28-24. And then let me see if I can get this wants to cooperate with me. There we go. And then we got 49ers versus the Rams on the road, +7.5 for the Rams. The Rams are 0-2, the 49ers are 1-1. This game, I was going to pick the Rams. I was. But they look awful. They don't look good. And half of that is because Puka's out. Cooper Kupp is now out. The offensive line has been injured. They have a couple players out. The running game has been bad because of the offensive line. Matthew Stafford's getting beaten up. The one positive is their defense. But it's going to be one of those games. I'm going to take the 49ers to win. I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams find a way to win this. But I wouldn't keep my hopes up for that. So I have 49ers winning 31-21. And then I just want to make sure I have this math down right. And 9 moves. You sure? Yeah. And final we have the Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay. Oh, not Tampa. Excuse me. The Chiefs versus the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday night. This game, I'm kind of interested, to be honest with you. Can Atlanta do it against Spagnuolo? This is actually a tough test for the Atlanta Falcons. Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive coordinators, probably the best defensive coordinator. And a lot of people ask, well, why isn't he head coach? He doesn't want to be a head coach. He wants to be basically what Dick LeBeau was to the Steelers. Dick LeBeau could have easily been a head coach. Didn't want to be. Spagnuolo doesn't want to be a head coach. He was a head coach. It didn't work. He understands he's a better coordinator than head coach, which is a thing that I've said before. Good coordinators don't make great head coaches. Great head coaches don't make great coordinators. It is not one of those things that if you're a great head coordinator, you will be a great coach. Or if you're a great head coach, you will be a great coordinator. It doesn't work. It never works like that. It's very rare that you see it. Great head coaches know how to take people and use them the best ways. And great coordinators know how to call those plays. To try and say I am both is not an accurate statement. So in this game, I'm trying to get the betting here if my thing wants to work. Okay. Okay. Here we go. This slow internet is crazy. Okay. The plus 3.5 for the Falcons. This game is actually going to be fun until like Chris Jones destroys the game. I would also predict that Travis Kelce gets involved in this game because he hasn't been involved last week. So it's also in Atlanta. So I'm gonna have the Chiefs win with the score 28-14. And let me know who you guys pick in the comment section. Who's gonna win week 3 and who will still be undefeated come week 3. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.